Well, the thing about it was, well, Whisky Mountain. I was really happy that you brought Whisky Mountain up because I went on a kick about a few months ago where I was watching on YouTube all of the Deliverance ripoffs. And so I was going through literally like every other one that I could find, and most of them were on YouTube. Now, we talked a little bit about rituals the last time I was on the show. Now, and I was surprised at how unsatisfied I was when it came to most of them. They almost always have good actors in them, and the first half is always usually pretty good, because there's a bunch of good actors, like usually alone out in the woods, or shit starts falling apart, and they start falling apart. That's always really kind of interesting, and I almost never like the third act. But that's actually also a little bit how I feel about Deliverance. I don't care for the third act of Deliverance. I think it has a very weak third act once it just becomes John Boy climbing the mountain. But before Whisky Mountain, hands down, my favorite of the Deliverance ripoffs was My Beloved Deathstalk, which we've talked about ad nauseum. But imagine my surprise after watching one William Fruit movie after another, one Canadian Deliverance ripoff after another, to watch a William Grefe film. I know you guys are a huge fan of his. I have yet to see a William Grefe movie that I was quite as charmed by as you guys seem to be charmed by. Actually, but I have to say, you guys and Whisky Mountain has actually made me see him in a way that I haven't saw him before. So imagine to find a William Grefe film to be the most purely satisfying of all the Deliverance ripoffs. It was completely charming. It was really fucked up. It was really exciting. The whole storyline is two couples are what were they even doing? Are they motorbike riding? Is that what they were doing? Or are they
they're like looking dirt bike? Yeah, but their mission is that they're going to look for some Confederate muskets.
Oh yeah, that's what
in a cave somewhere. Like one of the girls, her grandfather told her there was like 200 Confederate muskets, which could be worth like a couple $100,000 if they find them, but they got to go to the deep woods to do it.
Yeah, and they take a bunch of dirt bikes with them, so they're going to turn it into a bit of a treasure hunt. We're going to find this. We could actually do really well, but also in the meantime, we're going to go dirt biking and have a great time. It's obviously an outdoorsy couple, outdoorsy two couples. And the further they go down into this southern area, the more they get on these hillbillies' radar, who keep trying to kind of scare them off. They just keep constantly trying to scare them off, like do weird little things so they'll just pack up and leave, which most people would do, frankly, by the way. All right, but they're not knowing about well, we've got $200,000, so let's just keep going. And what it ends up being is this hillbilly family. I think they're growing pot or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they got a pot farm, and they think that they're encroaching on their pot farm, and so everyone's misunderstanding. So then they end up kidnapping the women, and then they all realize it's a mistake. But now it's too late. Now they got to kill them, all right, because they brought them into their lair. Well, I really like the actors in it. I've always been a Christopher George fan, but I've always been a Roberta Collins fan. And Roberta Collins is the girlfriend of the second couple, and she played Matilda the Hun in Death Race 2000. She's like one of the main. She's the standout girl, if you ask me, in Jonathan Demme's movie Caged Heat. She's also one of the leads in Jack Hill's The Big Dollhouse.
Oh, nice.
It was like, as far as I was concerned, back in the New World Picture days of that era, it was Pam Grier and it was Bobby Collins. They were the ones. She's the prostitute that gets killed at the beginning of Eaten Alive. She's just been in a ton of stuff. And she was always a really, really terrific actress. And this is one of the last times that she was the lead in something. And so I would have watched it just because Roberta Collins was the star. And that was actually one of the few Roberta Collins movies where she had that big of a part that I had yet to see. And I was also shocked watching the movie for one thing in particular. So Chris George is in the movie. I'm a big fan of Chris George. Well, I'm also a huge fan of his wife, who was the actress Linda Day George. And so I'm watching the movie and I'm like, holy shit, that's Linda Day George. For whatever reason, she's not going by her real name.
Yeah.
She's using a pseudonym. That's bizarre. But that's Linda Day George. And so I'm watching the whole movie thinking it's Linda Day George playing Chris George's wife. Then I start looking up this woman. It's not Linda Day George. He literally cast a woman who looks so much like his wife that me, a Linda Day George fan, was completely convinced I was watching Linda Day George.
You fooled me. I forgot. I was like, was it her? Because I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, it did look a hell of a lot like her.
And they did so many together. It's totally
they did so many together, and they're really good together, and they were really good together. I mean, I'm a huge Linda Day George fan. I was completely convinced I was watching Linda Day George for the entire movie. But the thing about the film was, I'm like, I just watched one after another that had a nice buildup, and then they just kind of fall apart. And this just kept hanging in there. And when John Davis Chandler, who plays the head of the head brother hillbilly, comes in, who's usually used for his goony presence more than his acting ability, but he's always had an interesting acting ability. He's the guy who's famous in Outlaw Jersey Wales, where he's the bounty hunter, and Jersey Wales tells him to leave, and he goes, "I can't. It's my living. Dying ain't much of a living."
I always remember him from Adventures in Babysitting. He's like the head monster in that. Yeah, he's a Grefe. He's a Grefe regular.
A couple of Grefe films, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But frankly, that's actually one of his better characters. And I even like the idea that they're not just that the hillbilly element, it's not just a bunch of inbred situations. There's a methodology to what they're doing. They're not just trying to, they try to scare them away. They literally try to chase them away. And and when they end up doing what they do, there was a thought behind it, and there's even regret on their part about what has to transpire. But now it has to transpire. They've gone too far. And then I was surprised about how interesting it got when they just had the women, and then the husbands actually get away. Now there was a moment there. I saw it a while ago. There was a moment there where I thought, this too, I thought, kind of lost the thread. And it was, oh, why are they doing this? Why is so-and-so doing that? It was a moment where I thought it was going to just fall apart. And that was just the dilemma of these type of movies. But when the husbands got to town, and the whole deal with the sheriff played out, that got me right back in the movie. And then when they get the motorbikes and go off to do this wild ass rescue with these legitimately good stunts, and knowing that it's William Grefe, these guys are just fucking doing it.
For sure.
Yeah, that bridge scene totally woke me up.
And that's just like, that's just them going for it and capturing it on film. That's not some special second unit bullshit. All right. That's just, hey, let's do this thing and let's pull it off and let's hope the camera doesn't jam. That was really it. And then the final shot just could not be better if you ask me.
Great. No, I love the final shot. I love it. But yeah, I'm totally with you, Quentin. When they get to town, you're like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. And then you realize, oh no, it's not.
Oh yeah, no. I literally thought the helium was going out of the balloon by the time they got to town. And when they got to town and then the twist happens with the sheriff, it was like, boom, I was right back in the movie again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's because they do something really. I had never seen this before. You might have seen this before, but I had never seen the thing with the Polaroids. And that was where you start to. It's pretty bleak, right? You're seeing these Polaroids slowly develop while you're hearing torture or abuse.
Oh, that was.
Yeah,
I forgot about that sequence. That was terrific.
Yeah, it's really what I think it creates this like high point, but also a really bleak feeling. And then after that, as soon as they get to town, you are all on board for that adventure.
Oh yeah, no, I forgot about that. Those scenes with the Polaroids are like, so disturbingly artistically done.
Yeah.
That it really gets under your skin and was genuinely disturbing, but also it took film craft to figure that out and to pull it off with such panache.
Yeah.
Unexpected from Grefe. Sorry.
Who knew?
Yeah, exactly.